What's going on, guys? Matt here, back with another video. Let's run through the 2018 NBA draft class, and more specifically picks 11 through 20 through a tier investing list. I just want to give a quick shout out to anyone that participated in the poll through the community tab that we've unlocked on YouTube. Just asking, when I asked the question that which series people like the most out of Mail Day, Pack to Profit, tier investing, and market watch. And surprisingly, tier investing was first by just a little bit, but I was actually quite surprised that all four series actually got a few votes, and they were quite even. So I'll go with the first requested series first, and then I'll get into the others hopefully in the next few weeks. But yeah, we'll run through the 2018 NBA draft class first off. So pick number 11, my favorite player from this row of players, and that's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. So maybe a bit of a controversial one, but look, I'm quite bullish on Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I'll have him in the Invest Now long-term category. And I think the thing with Shai to note is that he's on a team that is obviously rebuilding right now. They're probably not going to be good for the next sort of 2 to 3 years, but I think once we get to 2023, 2024, you're going to start seeing that team, have some promise and potentially make the playoffs. And I think the way that OKC are doing their rebuild is right. It's got to be a slow process. And I think they're not going to be like in that Philadelphia 76ers sort of realm where they just lose and lose and lose. I think they're going to rebuild right, and I think they've got the right foundation there. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, along with Josh Giddey, are going to be probably their backcourt for the future. And Josh Giddey's playing very well right now. Hasn't really impacted Shai too much. I think Shai's just a bit slow to start the season. So when I'm currently recording this, it's actually a 1 week into the season. But you just also got to remember that Shai missed the last portion of the season last season because of injury. So this is really a bit of a long injury layoff, and now he's sort of coming back. I think he's going to take a bit of time to ease in. But a taller, lengthier guard, and he's quite efficient when it comes to his scoring. He's a good passer, a good rebounder, and I think he's sort of in that realm of Ja Morant. But compared to Ja Morant, he's much more efficient. I hope he just takes that extra step up this season, hopefully next season as well, like Ja has, because Ja's playing on like an MVP sort of level at the moment. But yeah, with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I'd happily have him in the Invest Now long-term category, because I just don't think if you were going to invest in him short-term, I mean, he'd have some sort of reactive price change, but more so long-term, I think it's where you're going to get the better increases with Shai, because his team isn't going to be winning. You might get a few bumps during the season where he does score well or becomes an all-star, but I think more long-term, I think to sustain being one of the better players in this sort of age group, I think, he's more of a long-term investment in my boat. Second player up, pick number 12, Miles Bridges. So I'll put Miles Bridges in the Invest Now short-term category. I'm really impressed with Miles Bridges, the way he's turned around his... I don't know if turnaround is the right way, but a lot of people were saying that he was a disappointment coming out of his draft. But I also think he was coming off the bench. I think you got to give him a sustained amount of time, game time starting, and that's what happened last season as well. And 1 week into the season now, he's won the Player of the Week award. He's averaging 26 points per game. I think the biggest question is what will happen when Terry Rozier returns. But like I said it in my breakout player video that Charlotte really do like him. People who are investing in PJ Washington probably should sell him off right now, because I don't think PJ can crack that team with Mason Plumlee starting at center. The Hornets currently are now 3-1, so I think they've got the right thing going on right there. Miles Bridges has been playing really well, and I'm really impressed with his development over the past sort of couple of years. He's gone from that All-Star Game MVP where people were quite shocked from being, people were saying he's just a dunker, but he's really grown his game in the last sort of couple of years. So really impressed with him. I'll have him in the Invest Now short-term category. I don't know what his ceiling would be, but it'll be very interesting to see how they go. But him with LaMelo could be a long-term sort of thing. So you never know. He could be in that sort of top category. Pick number 13, Jerome Robinson. So quite easy here. As we get into the earlier draft classes, it's going to be quite obvious with some of these players, because you've seen 3 years already of them. This is heading into their 4th year now, and you're kind of just like, well, what have we got to say? I mean, Miles Bridges is a bit of a different one, because in his 3rd season, that was when we saw the breakout. So a player to break out in their 4th season doesn't really happen. I'm quite confident in saying Jerome Robinson's not going to be that guy. I don't think he's on the Wizards anymore, because he was on the Wizards last season. But I'd comfortably have him as a sell, and I think I really do trust the Clippers front office a fair bit, and I'm quite surprised that at pick 13 they really striked out with Jerome Robinson when the player after would have immensely helped their team as well. So Jerome Robinson, not going to really go through him at all. I'll have him in the sell category. Pick number 14, Michael Porter Jr. I'll have him in the invest now short-term category. Really, really great shooter, scorer. Could be one of the best offensive players of his age group. His efficiency is ridiculous. He's like he's 6'11", he's almost 7 foot. The only thing that's lacking with Michael Porter Jr. is his defense, and probably more the consistency as well. But I think the consistency hasn't really been his fault, being that he was out for his first season. And the second season, when he was playing his first season, he had inconsistent playing time. I think now with Jamal Murray out, he's going to get that consistent role, being the second scorer. With Jamal Murray coming back, what is that going to do to his role? That's going to be a very interesting one, because I think there are. I remember someone telling me a stat, but it would have been last season. But Jamal Murray doesn't pass the ball apparently through the advanced statistics to Michael Porter Jr. So I just thought that was very interesting. But yeah, with Michael Porter Jr. being that second option now, I think you've got a short-term window to really capitalise on him. Personally, I actually tried to get some Michael Porter Jr. cards in the off-season, but I feel like they were priced a little bit too high. I feel like the hype was already building up on Michael Porter Jr. and there was really no other place for him to go but down. So for me personally, I haven't invested in Michael Porter Jr. too much. I was able to pick up a few slabs, but nothing high-end, more select bases and stuff like that. But I just feel like his price is a little bit too high for what he's produced. And I think, he needs to almost exceed everyone's expectations to really hold that price that he's currently at. But more so in terms of time length and looking to the future, I'll have him in the invest now short-term category. Pick number 15, Troy Brown Jr. Currently playing for the Chicago Bulls, coming off the bench. I'll have him in the sell category. I know a few people were invested in him. Heard a few things, but nothing I've really noted. He was traded for Daniel Gafford. I don't know. I don't really have too much to say about Troy Brown Jr. He's just coming off the bench right now for the Bulls. If he ends up playing a role, I feel like he's currently he's not the sixth man because Caruso is there as well, but you also got Kobe White who's out injured. So I feel like his role is just going to drop even more once Kobe White returns from injury. So I'd probably have him in the sell category. Pick number 16, Zhaire Smith. I'll have him in the sell category as well. 76 has really missed with this pick here. I don't know what. I haven't really actually seen too much about Zhaire Smith. I did do some research on him about a month ago because I do have one of his Noir to number to 10 patches. I was just wondering where's Zhaire Smith sort of gone, and his first couple of seasons didn't really get much, didn't do much, and was waived I think. So it's just ridiculous when you pick 16 to be given up that quickly after 2 seasons is pretty hectic. But Zhaire Smith, pick 16, I'm having him in the sell category. There's nothing else I could really say. Donte Divincenzo for the Milwaukee Bucks. Oh, look, I'll have him in the may have potential category. The advanced statistics love Donte Divincenzo. Before that championship season, they actually had Donte as being the second best player in terms of plus minus on Milwaukee after Giannis. So Donte is a vital part of that team. It's just more so what his ceiling is. I think he's just going to be a solid role player. He's almost bordering sell because, like I said, we get to this sort of 4th season and you kind of don't know what they're going to do. So you do know what they're going to do, and you've got them figured out. It's like, well, what's really the price bump going to be there? But he's had some price rises over the past sort of couple of years in little spurts, I think it's just I think it's a bit of a hard one with Donte Divincenzo. I think coming off injury as well, it's what's his ceiling going to be? Can he go to another team and eventually be a scoring threat, or is he just going to be really that 3rd or 4th option on a team that's starting, which is great, but I don't think that's for me really. But pick number 18, Lonnie Walker IV. I'll have Lonnie Walker as a sell. Another player that people are high on the Spurs. I think right now I think is his best opportunity to shine. With DeMar DeRozan leaving, Rudy Gay, Patty Mills, LaMarcus Aldridge all leaving, I think it's his best time to shine. But I think he's playing that 6th man off the bench for the Spurs. If you're not really starting there with that offense that needs to be generated, I think it spells warning signs that your ceiling's probably more like a 6th man sort of role. But I've watched the Spurs a few times this season thanks to my investments with Derek White, and Lonnie Walker just looks really lost out there. I think even reading the Spurs forums, they're quite annoyed at him. He's almost like the player that they sort of crack it at the most, because he just does some things out there that you're just kind of a little bit shocked at, and like you think that he'd develop a little bit more, but he just feels like he's a bit of a net negative when it comes to defense as well. So I think with Lonnie Walker, yeah, I'd have him as a sell. He might be one of those players who just ends up being like a really good scorer off the bench, but yeah, with Lonnie Walker, I'd probably more so have him in the sell category. Kevin Huerter. So for the Atlanta Hawks, I'll have him in the hold may have potential category, sort of in the same category as Donte Divincenzo, being a solid role player for the Atlanta Hawks, but bit of a better scorer than Donte Divincenzo, more of a sharpshooter, obviously. But I think with Atlanta Hawks, look, they have a really stacked team. I think in a few years' time they've given Huerter an extension. Are they going to extend DeAndre Hunter? Are they going to extend Cam Reddish? They've got Congo as well. What are they going to do in their team? But right now, Kevin Huerter's starting, and with that starting five, I don't think there's going to be much else to really go around in terms of his scoring. I can't see him going into that 20 point per game average, just because you got Trae Young, you got John Collins, who takes up a lot of the ball, DeAndre Hunter, Cam Reddish off the bench as well. There's a lot of ball that needs to be shared around. Bogdan Bogdanovic, who gets the ball as well. So I think Kevin Huerter's more so being a role player on a contending team. Whether he goes again to another team and becomes a really solid starter, averages in the high teens, being a sharpshooter from the outside, I'm not too sure, but I mean, that's more his ceiling. I think, yeah, you might be able to hold him for the next couple of years, provided that Atlanta do make a title run again. And he did have a great playoffs last season, and he did see a bit of a price bump. So you could be holding out until the playoffs and waiting until he has a great series or a great performance and selling your cards off. But yeah, in terms of holding him long term, I probably wouldn't be. Last player now, Josh Okogie. I'll have him in the sell category. So, I mean, Josh Okogie's his career has been up and down. His rookie season, I watched that game where he guarded James Harden, and I thought to myself, like, this guy's going to be an absolute beast on the defensive end. He still is. He's a good defender. But yeah, starting on the Timberwolves right now, I think he's being relegated to a defender. I know in the Olympics he played for Nigeria. I watched him a few times, but yeah, it's in his fourth season right now. I think there's better players to hold from this draft class. I don't think there's much else to build up for there with Josh Okogie. But yeah, that's really my quick thoughts on Josh Okogie. So let me know in the comments whether you agree or not. Tell me on the rich category you'd rank each player, whether you would agree or disagree. I really do appreciate you guys that do check out the video and stay till the end. Make sure you hit the like button and hit subscribe if you aren't already subscribed, and I'll see you all in future videos. Take care.